everyone, welcome to the program. This is Sunday Politics live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimale live for you here in Abuja. Let's tell you that there's been a very strongly worded statement coming from the Finance Ministry rejecting allegations that large portions of Nigeria's Federation earnings are either missing or secretly diverted. The ministry clarified that deductions captured in the World Bank report are not wasteful spending, but include statutory transfers, savings and investments, security expenditures, and cost of collection charges. It also stressed that reforms to ministries, departments, and agencies, as well as transfers to state and local governments, are lawful fiscal obligations, not leakages. In that statement signed by the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Taiwo Oyedele, further accused some analysts of selectively using outdated data while ignoring recent reforms aimed at improving transparency and revenue flows. According to this statement, reforms introduced in early 2026, including a new executive order on a petroleum revenue remittances, are expected to boost the distributable revenues by about 0.4% of GDP annually. And let's tell you about the politics of Kano State. Yet another defections and a lot of intrigues happening. A former governor of Kano State, Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, has defected from the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP, and has now rejoined the ruling All Progressives Congress, APC. Senator Shekarau today made his defection public at his residence in Kano, which was decorated with posters all around as you look through the premises and the house. He left the party alongside Senator Bello Hayatu Ugoso, a chieftain of the PDP. And addressing the party loyalists, Shekarau says the decision followed wide consultation and careful consideration of available political options, and allow you to feel exactly what the ambience was like in Kano at the residence of Senator Ibrahim Shekarau, the former governor of Kano State.
Allahu Akbar.
That's the atmosphere right there. Earlier today in Kano, the residence of former Governor Ibrahim Shekarau. So, our major conversation tonight is partly going to be about the politics of 2027 and what the mind of President Bola Tinubu is like. So the president has sent a strong political signal ahead of the 2027 elections using a high-level meeting with APC leaders and renewed hope ambassadors at the presidential villa to defend his administration, challenge the opposition, and reaffirm his economic direction. I'd like you to listen to the president's views on the opposition party and their internal crisis. The president had his view on what he thinks is going on, especially in the ADC.
During the primary that got me here, it was tough. During the general election, it was tough. Now that if you look at one of them, no one without history among these calabash. No one without history. The head was the chairman of the Privatization Council of Nigeria. In this country, one time, he privatized the steel industry in Delta. Is it working today? No. No ounce. They privatized Ajaokuta. Is it working today? No. Go on the list. they privatize another man's political party. That one say no.
The person is, you heard him there about the opposition and some of the opposition leaders and their antecedents from his own point of view. The president also shared his view on the sentiment about the 2027 election, his administration, and what he thinks that Nigerians should benefit or would benefit.
You must give them that hope. But try as much as possible. Men and women of integrity that are here in this room, to build a Nigeria. They want to scare me off. It's a lie. I've been through this path before. And if I have to come back over and over and over again, I'll do the same thing. There is no better place than your own country. And no one can build it except you.
All right. Apart from that, the president also spoke about some of the opposition leaders, especially the former vice president, Atiku Abubakar. The president also spoke about his relationship with former President Muhammadu Buhari, and he's defending the Buhari administration. And he says, Buhari is me, I am Buhari. Take a listen to the president.
I didn't have to look back because the truth is, I took over for myself. The late Buhari is me. He was a partner. And if I took over from him, is that not from myself? So, if something is wrong, fine. Live with it, correct it, move on. The life voyage is not going to be easy. And so many of you that are traveling with me, I can only stand before you and say you will not regret it.
That's President Bola Tinubu in his political element. And he was speaking from the heart, if you can see it. So, but what are the implications of what he has said? Beyond the rhetoric, critical questions remain. Is the opposition truly weakening or simply regrouping? And can the government's economic agenda, including the proposed 2026 budget that has been signed now, realistically deliver relief and stability? Tonight, we go beyond the headlines to examine the politics, the policy, and the implications for Nigeria's democracy. Joining me now on the program is a political scientist and public affairs analyst, scholar, a former national secretary of the defunct Alliance for Democracy, AD, and the director with the Center for Alternative Policy Perspectives and Strategy, CAPS, in Abuja, Professor Udenta. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Well, it's a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Nigerians.
I appreciate it. If there's someone who understands the politics of Bola Tinubu, you will say you are one of them. You work closely with him at the AD. That was a younger Bola Tinubu who was, in that moment, a lot of people thought that he fought the central government. He stood his ground. He made his politics known to the rest of the world. But if you hear what the president said today, and he said that the opposition thought they were going to scare him. What do you make of that kind of statement?
Well, let me put it this way. There's something in law we call the flution of time, passage of time. Seasons come and seasons go. You know, we formed a bond, in constructing alliance for democracy. which was a different kind of political platform because of the civic imagination and radical ideological spirit that was infused in it. The struggle against Abacha, Abiola's death, Abacha's own death, and that combustible period when the nation was on edge. We formed the Alliance for Democracy, ultimately became governor of Lagos State, as we said, a very younger person. That's 27 odd years or so ago. The evolution of time has these consequences, in the sense that AD was an ideological platform with clear vision and philosophical depth. APC is just a special purpose vehicle. It's a contraption. It has no focus. It has no ideological bearing. It has no philosophical reach. It's just a vehicle that was put together to flush PDP out of power 2015, and they succeeded admirably well. But since they succeeded in doing that, they've refused to govern. The 8 years of Buhari presidency that our president has currently invoked has been considered by many, not just scholars, ordinary it's just a disaster in terms of corruption, in terms of nepotism, in terms of insecurity, in terms of even the insufferable sense of aloofness that defined that period. And for Nigerians to hanker after Buhari presidency is a solemn testament of the failure of the Buhari presidency. But the question he will ask himself as the president is, Nigerians are going to an election early next year. They're not going to listen to a rhetoric or grandstanding or sense of mission or accomplishment. They'll ask themselves the bitter question, how were we May 29, 2023, and how are we today? The answer will be resounding. We are worse off today than we under the Buhari presidency.
Is that the reality?
It's the reality.
Presently.
Presently.
But the president has simply absolved the Buhari government of any...
He has to.
He said, look, I am Buhari. And those who say, is this more of a realistic conversation, statement or political statement?
At this crucial stage, he has to do it. He has an audience in northern Nigeria. Says, I did not abandon.
So the sentiment is for the northern.
Of course, I did. I've got the force,
vote.
the CPC, in the configuration of forces in northern Nigeria. I did not abandon my Lord and Master. He was my boss. He was our leader for 8 years. But we know how that government functioned for 8 years. When we talk about poverty capital of the world, what the Tinubu president has added 10 more million people to Buhari's own poverty. Insecurity was much more rooted in the northeast. He has expanded it to northwest, north central, everywhere. If you look at even the opaqueness of the budget, you find that 2024 budget has not even been executed. 25 budget have been extended to 26. 26 is just taken off stream, almost mid-year. So with 3 years in a cycle, close to 200 trillion cannot be accounted for. So when the World Bank says we can't find 34 trillion of this money, and you can see the explanation for the Minister of Finance, it is vacuous and empty. It does not make sense. You will run election 2027 on your own record. It will not be promised to Nigerian people.
And what does that record do?
The record is very shabby, to say the least.
That record cannot win an election?
It cannot win an election because
really?
why? Because why?
Because there are those who say in this government, and they've come to the defense to say, everything we're doing on security, there is a systemic failure. The system was broken. We're trying to fix it. No ammunition, no system. Things are bad. There was corruption, and they're trying to fix it. And it might take time.
Okay.
And there are political angle and perspective to this insurgency and such. Bola Tinubu is working to defeat the insurgent. Should we give the government the benefit of the doubt?
Okay, fine. The first benefit of the doubt, I said it on here, this studio, and several other ones. These two presidencies are conjoined. The failures of the Buhari presidency are the failures of the Bola Tinubu presidency.
So no excuse.
He said it himself here. I have to inherit the mess of the Buhari presidency. Virtually in this comment, in this remark we listen to, we have to inherit it. The broken system. These securities and so on there, the country diminished. When we talk about even Christian genocide narrative, it didn't start from Bola Tinubu. Let's face it. The so-called thesis on turning the country into some sort of fate, dialectic, started then. The poverty capital of the world started then. The collapse of the Naira started then. The fuel situation started then. Living standard depreciation started then. But the problem is that the Bola Tinubu presidency has intensified and accelerated to a higher degree the substantive levels of the Buhari presidency depreciating, performances. That's a critical problem. Take, for example, the current thing facing the world today, the Iran war. The fuel price from 800 and something naira, the 1,300 and something. What has the government done in the past 2 months, virtually, to Nigerian people to say, we hear your cry, we see your pain. We're actually taxing the importers extra money because we're making more millions of dollars by selling at a very stupendous high level. What have you done? Many other countries, you know what they're doing? They're freezing prices of petroleum products, but they're not doing subsidy. They are injecting back into the system the millions of dollars they're expropriating from those who are importing fuel. They're not doing it there.
Yeah, Prof, let me ask you. The statement that the president made in the villa about opposition, about 2027, does it sound like a statement of consolidation of power or a statement that is already looking like the president is concerned about political vulnerability?
He said that they will not scare him away because already they are scaring him away. He's mindful of the numbers. If you crunch the numbers, in spite of the fragmentation in the political atmosphere, whether they're regrouping, whether they're weakening, it's a fragmentation and a certain form of rebirth of a new political order. The first thing why he's running scared is his record. We must talk about electricity. The solemn, powerful statement you made 3 years ago. By 2027, you must fulfill it or don't vote for me. You can't take it away. You see that in almost all the front pages of all the newspapers. That's number one. Number two, you floated the naira. What have you done with the money? You realize the trillions or the hundreds of millions of dollars there to the living standard of Nigerians.
Shouldn't we be asking the federating unit, the states?
I'm coming. Because if you emasculate resources, in real terms, it is not 55% or so that the federal center receives. It's close to 70%. Because of unreported revenues from so many humongous institutions. The central bank, the customs, the immigration, the MPA, the NIMASA, they are not reporting the money. NMPC, you put them together, it's almost 70% of public resources in their hands. So you must account for this money to the people.
Look at it, Prof. The president seems to have framed the opposition as weak, incoherent, divided, and unable to be able to stand strong to win an election. Okay. Is that assessment of the president accurate?
Wrong. Because I said, number one, why is he running scared? I say, performance. He will not come to grandstand to Nigeria's 2027. He must put a record on the economy, on corruption, on better performance, on living standard. The price of consumables, of foodstuff, transportation, education, energy, everything. Zero. Two, if you're not running scared, we will not have the kind of INEC we have. In several studios, I say that Professor Mupitan was procured and produced to do precisely what he's doing now. What is he doing now? Number one, before Mahmoud left, who was not even a very popular man, he had rebalanced the multi-party conversation by bringing PDP to INEC, if you remember, to sort out the differences. They've given notice to INEC, and so they're prepared for Congress and Convention. He left almost a month before his tenure was up. Labour Party had almost been tinkered with and taken care of. APC, NDC have been resolved. David Mark, suddenly they're up in the air. And as I said, not because I put anybody down. I don't know the professor very well. When you have in the north central of Kogi State an Amupitan, a Josh Amupitan, bearing the name he's bearing, you go to Kwara and they have the NNPC GMD bearing the name he's bearing, there's a certain level of intentionality. So PDP is suddenly no more. Possibly we don't know what this people will do tomorrow because somebody's running scared. ADC, formulated, carefully created by those who facilitated as a coalition with no problem, suddenly is now doing what? On the racks. SDP, the same level, the same. There's a certain level of intentionality. I'm running scared because if the parties are strong, are united and decisive, it will be a problem for me.
Prof, let's look at it. And you are one that one will never say is living in political naivety.
At all.
You are one that one will never say that you are lacking of political knowledge, understanding, and experience.
Absolutely.
Your experience go way back. So I will respect your analysis in this sense. And I like you to be very critical and say the truth to power. And let's say it exactly the way it is.
Okay.
But let me ask you, in the president's own assessment, and he has, highlighted some of the leaders and the big wigs within the opposition. But if you look at it, and he's also talked about the crisis in internal politics and the crisis in this political party. Let's be honest with ourselves. Okay. You know Bola Tinubu. In Bola Tinubu's days, when he was a younger, he was brutal. He went into Ekiti, went into Osun, and he endorsed it. And he has his foot soldiers sitting in that room in the renewed Hope Ambassador, the governors across all the state, and he gave them the confidence. And look, if they could not beat me when I didn't have power, is it now that they will beat me? And you know him. If you're going to beat Bola Tinubu, you must be, the more you look as a frail Bola Tinubu, at your own peril. It's probably one of the smartest political strategies we have in the country. Okay. If you undermine him, at your own peril. Okay. Analyze for us, Prof. The opposition as presently constituted, can they beat Bola Tinubu? In what world can that happen?
You need a lot of variables to be in place. If you build an equation, you have integers you put together. Number one, the challenges facing the opposition are challenges which, of course, were manufactured from outside. It's substantially. We don't have the time to probe into that. I'll give you an example of a comment of a friend who said, I don't have any issue with Seun. I just said about TV show. A serving minister of the Federal Republic is an alter ego of a president. Not just one minister, not the FCC minister alone. Every minister speaks for the president. Presidential communication is not only in the villa. It is expressed through ministerial communication. Presidential presence is not only by the president talking the way he spoke. If a minister comes here to speak with you in public, when the toga of the office of the minister, he speaks for the president. So when the minister of FCT presides over the dismantling of PDP, is the president that is doing so, not the minister. If he resigns as a minister, he loses his clout, loses his power. He has no autonomous power center. He has no independent, authentic power force to say, I am going to do what I'm doing. He derives it substantially, if not absolutely, because he's the man under authority. So for the party that ruled the country for 16 years, to suffer the fate it is suffering in the hands of the serving minister of the Federal Republic, who has vowed publicly to re-elect his boss. In essence, the crisis of PDP is a crisis superintended, facilitated, procured in the villa of Bola Tinubu. That's number one. Number two, ADC was put together carefully. I think nobody was put together. The cause knew. And they had a coherent, decisive leadership. Suddenly everything is up in the air. That is the president running scared, using INEC to do what he's doing. Look at the case of that PDP, if you go back to it again and say, what did they now put in court? A man, this appeal court sacked, said, you are expunged from the party. You are expelled as the secretary of the party. You originated even the faction. As the secretary of AD, I will never dare write a letter to an external body. Chairman will write a letter, secretary will concur. If the chairman writes without the secretary concurrence, the letter is absurd. No secretary can even initiate his own. But INEC accepted the communication from Anyanwu and built his faction on that, and built his BOT on that. I'm giving you the challenges facing the opposition. But don't forget, politicians always tell my friends are ghosts. They move in formless form until they coagulate in a decisive moment of illumination, saying, here is the platform that people in this think we're going to seize. You seize that platform in the next 2 weeks. The beauty of INEC shutting down opposition by this tight, viciously tight, narrow period in which you have to finish up everything, party registration, upload it, do your primaries, and so on. If you skip it by 30th May, you have 8 months ahead of you to build that infrastructure, to rearm their ranks, to now teach and educate Nigerians how this government has failed in policy and budget implementation, in corruption, in insecurity, no matter how you dress it. Oh, we made a broken system. We made a system that was diminished and famished. Every year you allocate trillions for the military. Every year you have former leader who you say you have embraced, allocated trillions for 8 years with disastrous consequences. Produce only capital of the world, poverty capital of the world. Let me tell you, macroeconomic stability does not end with statistics and figures, abstract norms. You can't say one of the statistics are saying inflationary pressure is weakening. There's a macroeconomic stability in the system. It's a living standard of the people.
So, Prof, my question here is Tinubu beatable?
Of course.
By this opposition?
Of course.
In the form in which
you know why it is going to be?
Yeah.
If you listen carefully to me, INEC choked down the system 2022. You recall. APC did the primary 7th August, if I'm not mistaken. You can fact check it. PDP and other did a little bit early. Labour, I don't know because we'll be left PDP for Labour Party. So now you're compressing it to 30th May, including governorship primaries, senatorial primaries, rest primaries. So many parties will not be prepared to do it. Once they manage to get through that threshold, and they will get through that threshold, they are resourceful.
It's a 50-50 chance.
I say
there's a 50-50 chance. ADC might not be on the as it's presently constituted. It's a 50-50 chance.
Let me tell you what.
They either win the case or lose the case.
Let me tell you what I mean by being ghosts. They're human beings with life and blood and flesh and bone. Ghost means they are ethereal beings. You can't capture them and keep them in a place. They move like bird. You know, they move like gypsies. Politicians will find a home. May not be a DC. May not be PDP. I'm saying
the consequence here, Prof, just the apologies, is the fact that in 2023, prior to that, when the primaries didn't go in Peter Obi's favor, he left the PDP and moved to the Labour Party. In this climb, you can't do it again.
Do you know? You stop the timetable.
Now, listen, that means you are boxed. You cannot leave
any longer. At the timetable.
Yeah.
The timetable gives you a window. Some say up to 5th May, some say up to 10th May. I had a conversation with a floater, a founder of a party still in the making. I will not talk more about it. Yeah. You don't know who is listening. Millions are listening to us. He said, no, it is not 5th May, it is 10th May. It's a closure. When you think in terms of submitting the final INEC registration to INEC, the membership registration to INEC. Today is what? 19th April. 24 hours is a lifetime in politics. Between now and 5th May or thereabout, Shehu put it on record today. The politicians of this country who oppose to the current government of Bola Tinubu will find a home, a secure home. When that home is found, it may be a secure home. It may be a secure home for now. It may be a home not too well known. Yeah. Give it 2 months gestation period. That home will grow in leaps and bounds. And APC that has overgorged. I talked about obesity and flatulence. Yeah. You know, 32 governors, senators, and reps. They already disgorged in many states across the country. Confusion within their ranks. This opposition will not only have the time to rebuild their infrastructure and deepen their reach. They have 6 months to campaign. Typically in Nigeria, campaigns are 6 weeks. INEC knew what they're doing with this Samupitans INEC, choke them down so they'll not even get out of that block firing, okay? They will get out of it. And when they get out of it, from May 30th, ask yourself, what happens from May 30th to December 30th? June, July, August, September, October, November, December, this government is beatable. The time is there. Ample time in the hands.
And quickly, Prof, there were the times where the PDP had a very, very strong repository of resources. Delta State, Rivers State, Akwa Ibom State, or your state. These are states where you could fund an election. Massively.
Great operation.
The opposition doesn't have that.
Who won Delta State last time around?
Delta State?
Who won it?
In the presidential election?
P2B? Infrastructure? He defeated the sitting governor, a vice president candidate of a ruling party. No, not the ruling party, of the PDP, the opposition party. He beat him in Edo. He beat the current president in Lagos State. He won, but that's how he won FCT.
So without all the resources...
He don't need that. Let me tell you, this government has invested heavily on top-heavy gladiators. I said it here, there is 4 times. So, if you take it that you have obviously the governors and the ministers and the senators, why are you running scared? Why are you using INEC? Why are you using the courts? Running scared. The government is running scared. You know why they're running scared? Yeah. As I said, 2027 is not going to be rhetoricization of your intent. That the president, is going to do this and that. You have to confront the nation with what he accomplished in the past 4 years. It's on your record.
And you think the APC does not have anything to show?
They have nothing to show, say poverty, hunger.
Really?
Poverty, hunger, insecurity in the country.
Did you watch Dr. Zach Adedeji?
Do you
At
know?
the opening, the guy intelligently broke down the economic achievements and the policy direction of the Bola Tinubu.
You have your neighbors?
And I wish,
you have your neighbors?
And I wish, just a moment, sir. I mean, even if you disagree with the Bola Tinubu government, I wish this government can actually have the likes of Zach Adedeji to eloquently and even if you don't agree with the figures, if you can eloquently analyze the economic policies of this government in the way the guy did, there will be more understanding.
Did you hear me? I hear very clearly, Sheung. I said here, abstract numbers on macroeconomic stability, lower the inflationary pressure, digitizing this will not work with the people. It's hunger. We work for them. Are they seeing more money today? Are they buying things at cheaper prices, drugs, that's medicine for life saving? Their kids going to school. Are they being kicked out of their homes because they can't pay rent? Since the Iran war started, they have now moved fuel from 800 to 1,300. Are they seeing better money? I'm coming to manage it. Diesel was 1,020 to now 2,000 a liter. Are they seeing money to buy diesel? Are their homes not in darkness? DDG's figures and numbers are irrelevant and meaningless to the welfare of the people. What matters is the living condition. That is why government sometimes is distant from the people, isolated and alienated. They give you grand numbers. It runs very well. You will be there, one back will be there clapping for you. The reality is that people are bitter, hungry.
All right, Prof, this is where we anchor tonight. And let me know your views. If you were to if you're on the analysis table and in the situation room, in the war room, and you want to beat Bola Tinubu, whom you know very well.
Yes.
What pairing would you pick in the opposition as presently constituted?
What pairing?
What pairing? The ticket. Who are the faces you will put on the ticket if you want to beat Bola Tinubu, frankly speaking?
First and foremost, I have been on record that because of the necessity of zoning as a way to restrain the appetite of the elite, because if you don't restrain the appetite of the elite, you may have a Benue situation where the thieves will perpetually produce the governor and the dumbers and so on will produce the deputy. A time will come when the team will say, we have had this in too long. Let us give it to the other person. In 2023, the man in detention, Nasir El-Rufai, helped this president over the finishing line. He took war with his political mentor and his father, the president. He even went to court against him. He even did a counter broadcast in Kaduna when the president made a broadcast on the Naira with design and so on. He put a counter broadcast. He said there are no leaders in the north even. Not like don't respect leaders. He said, we the governors have decided the power must go to the south. And they pit on the president. They helped him over the finishing line. 2027, people believe that the power should remain in the south to continue to 2031.
What pairing?
The pairing in the south you have to do what you have on the ground, visible, manifest, is P2B.
And who?
Essentially, in the south, for example, the choice of who they have in the north is for them to make up their mind. You have, for example, Kwankwaso is around the corner, he's already part of the position.
So Peter Obi Kwankwaso, you think Peter Obi Kwankwaso can beat Bola Tinubu?
Wait, I'm not finished. Yeah. Of late, the governor of Bauchi State, Chairman PDP Governor's Forum, has been all over the place there, to be or not to be, given the consequences of the problems of the party. His suffering, his pain, his courage for 3 years standing firm to say, what do we do? Suddenly I had the news. Bauchi PDP has said no to any conversation with the APC. It is done. The deal is dead on arrival. That means he become part again of parcel of the leadership of the opposition. Who says it can be him? There are forces there. I'm not saying it is him. Or I'm saying
in a political analysis,
any pairing. I won't go as far as Buba Galadima. As an older person, he could use certain choice words. Certain words, I will not use that. Any pairing today of a P2B in the south and anybody else in the north will put Bola Tinubu 2027.
We'll leave it there. Professor Udenza is a former national secretary of the defunct Action Alliance for Democracy, AD. Thank you so much indeed. I appreciate your time.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Pleasure. Anytime.
Coming up, from budget battles to 2027 calculations, how prepared is the APC and can the opposition truly challenge? Senator Abubakar Yusuf will be answering the questions and will be telling us what his views are about the budget and the economy planning of this government. He's an APC chieftain, but he's got some very critical and very direct views about the state of the nation. After this break, join us. Tinubu has signed the 2026 appropriation bill into law, setting the tone for what the administration calls a decisive phase of economic reform and national recovery. But beyond the headlines, critical questions now come up on the table. Can this budget deliver real impact in the face of persistent inflation, rising debt, and revenue constraints? Is Nigeria's budget cycle under this administration becoming more efficient or more political? And as attention gradually shifts toward 2027, how internal party dynamics within the APC shaping governance and national priorities? Tonight, we'll take a deep dive into the numbers, the politics, and the expectations, from implementation challenges to economic realities, and from party strategy to opposition mobilization. Well, joining us tonight on the program is Senator Abubakar Yusuf, a former federal lawmaker and a chieftain of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Senator Yusuf, many thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here again.
Thank you so much indeed. You've, on some other interviews with you on the program, you said the kind of budget policies that Nigeria must implement for us to get it right. But it does look like we were getting it right in normalizing the 12-month budget window. But all of a sudden, under these government, things look a bit distorted. Why so?
Well, the matter is very, very simple. First of all, when this government came, I'm a member of APC anyway, so it's our government, since the time of President Muhammad Buhari up till now. However, one cannot but to say that we have not gotten things right in terms of the budgeting, because before you budget, you must plan. If you don't have a plan, you will not have a good budget system or budgetary system. So, and by the time you decide to make the budget more of a political tool than an economic, tool for growth and development, then you will not have things right. And in my opinion, this is what is going on at this point in time. So until and unless we divorce critical issues of budgeting away from the political or the political tools, then we might not get it right, Shaun.
You look at it, we've got the largest volume of budget value, the baseline ever in the history of this country.
Yeah.
Does that impress you in any way?
You see, it is not about 68 trillion. What is the 68 trillion for? Is it based on need or is it based on want?
Is it a realistic budget?
That's what I'm driving at. For me, it is not a realistic budget. Because I've always been talking, since I was in the Senate 8th Assembly, 9th Assembly, continuously, we continue to do what we call, splurging the budget. Splurging the budget means, in my own opinion, I may be wrong, but about 40% of this budget that we have is splurged. Now, if you discount the budget by 40%, then probably you will begin to have, what should be the realistic budget as at 2026. And again, besides the splurging, we carry from 2024, 2025, and now 2026. So the projects of 2024 are being, financed now at what cost? Certainly it will not be at a very, very realistic cost. And therefore, these are the issues that I think, because it was not based on plan. So if it is based on plan, we will have, a realistic budget. But there is no planning. There is no way you are going to have a realistic budget. That's point number one. Point number two, if you have your fundamentals not realistic, 1.8, million barrels per day is not a realistic amount that we think that we can anchor our budget on. I've also said in the past, Shaun, that, the Naira is terribly undervalued. And if you have an undervalued budget, an undervalued currency, that is not the kind of budget you should be running to. You should go to a very, very, very realistic budget. You should go to a surplus budget, not a deficit budget. Because deficit budget is tied to what we call, borrowing. Our borrowing is almost equal to our current, budget in this country. So you are spending 15 trillion just to service the budget, and then you are spending 15 trillion on the administration of the current issues. At what rate are you talking about?
21 billion US dollar in planned borrowing, 15 trillion naira on debt servicing.
Yeah.
But you look at it in terms of the figures presented to the National Assembly. 58 trillion was what the president presented, but the National Assembly returned 68 trillion. That volume, because they say, okay, the National Assembly has the right to be able to, impute some of these figures. But that amount of money that has been, the increase that we saw in that budget by 9.85 trillion from in the initial proposal, is this ambitious? Is this a fiscal overstretch? Does it make sense to you? Or what exactly do you think had gone?
For me, if I were President Bola, I would not have assented to this budget.
Why?
Because it has increased beyond what I think is right to be done. National Assembly, yes, they have a right, but of what use do they need to splurge the budget? Why do they need 9 trillion more in order, to fund this budget. Where is the money coming from? So they are assuming that because of the oil crisis and what have you, there will be a tendency for the price of crude oil will go up, and therefore, but they are forgetting. For me, it is not increasing revenue to reduce your deficit. What is most important is to cut your coat according to your cloth.
There's a plan, 34 trillion projection for revenue.
Yeah.
Well, you look at it, the removal of subsidy now gives room for more money to go to, in fact, distribution. So there are those who will be saying, what exactly is the problem of budget implementation? Yes, higher revenue or more money to spend, but then there are problems of implementation of the budget. Does that make sense? There seems to be an incoherence there. What technically is going wrong there?
Shaun, like I said, you have no plan. How are you going to execute the budget?
What do you mean there's no plan?
What?
There's a renewed hope agenda, the master plan.
Certainly. And then what is the manifesto of APC? Is the renewed hope in tandem with the manifesto of APC? Is it?
So you do not think, Senator, that Nigeria is on the right economic path under this government?
In my opinion, no.
What is going wrong from your own view?
What is going wrong? You cannot run a market economy on what I call a public infrastructure. If you are assuming that, okay, Nigeria can be, a market economy driven, then where are the fundamentals to run a market economy? Where are the fundamentals? I've been asking this question. Where are the fundamentals to run the market economy?
But do you think that there are, what the president planned, as the master planner for his administration, is he working out? He said he's made some very strong 3 different aspects of policies around the economy, and which a lot of people say, yeah, there are tough decisions, but down the line, it will be of a huge benefit to the Nigerian people because there is a systemic policy readjustment. Do you think that we are on the right track?
No, because
if all of this
because the plan contradicts the system. This system is not prepared for the kind of what we call market economy that they want to run. The system is based on planned economy. It is not based on market economy.
So what kind of economy do you think would be best for them to run?
So what I think the best market to have more of a planned economy at this moment. As we go along, we gradually privatize into a market economy that we want to be. But the fundamentals do not support the market economy that we are talking about.
So you think the Tinubu government should go back to the drawing board?
Yes, what I think, for instance, Shaun, the labor market is not, what do you call it, freed as financial market, nor is freed as the product market. Today the prices, go up. And then what is the labor market? How will the labor market react to the kind of prices changes, financial changes that are happening? How are you going to have that equilibrium, to have the labor market to move the way, to maximize the productivity in the economy?
Senator, I would like to know how popular this government is in northern Nigeria, where you come from, and what are the chances of this government going into the election? Is President Bola Tinubu jittery of the opposition and is presently constituted? But please hold that thought. That's going to be after this break.
All right.
Join us again. Everyone for staying with us. Senator Abubakar Yusuf is an APC chieftain and a former federal lawmaker. He's been speaking with us on the state of affairs of the nation. And now let's talk about some politics now. Senator, what do you make of the opposition and the present way it's constituted, and whether or not the APC as a ruling party right now is jittery?
Thank you, Shaun. I would want to say APC will win in 2027.
The presidential election?
Yes.
How?
Not because the government of Asiwaju has performed well, because there is no opposition, number one. There is no challenge in the opposition. Individually, they are very, very credible captains. But as a team, I don't see that team working together for the success of the opposition. So Tinubu will likely win, more likely win the 2027 election. So APC to that extent is not jittery. We are not jittery at all. Because, we don't have a challenge. Who is challenging us? Nobody. So if they now say, okay, Nigerians will challenge us. Fine, if Nigerians will challenge us, between now and the day of election, a lot of things will come on the limelight to make sure that whatever little wrongs that has happened left, right, and center will be adjusted.
Is there something APC should be worried about? Apart from the fact that you said the opposition is not coordinated and there isn't any challenge.
Yes, what APC will be worried about is intra-party crisis, because there might be, if care is not taken, implosions. What are the implosions? If they insist on automatic ticket, then they are going to lose a lot of people to other political parties. But if they allow free and fair primaries, come, test your popularity, and then do it, unlike what the governors want, then there will be a problem. There will be implosions. No doubt about it if they refuse to allow free and fair election. And what I made to understand, you see, we have APC on one side, we have Renewed Hope organization on one side, and then we have governors on another side.
And you have the City Boys movement on that.
Well, there we have the City Boys, then we have, the Nigerian citizens. So there's bound to be a bunch of contradictions here if the system or Mr. President as the leader of the political party, even though there's no such a thing in the constitution of the party, they must allow free and fair election.
But do you think that there could be surprises that can spring up?
There might be. There might be. In politics, don't bank on the fact that there will be no surprises. There will be. So that is what I'm saying, that Mr. President must stand firm and not rely on this governor is coming in, this governor. There are so many of these governors that are not popular.
Senator Abubakar Yusuf is a former federal lawmaker and the chieftain of the APC. Many thanks. As always, thanks so much.
Thank you,
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
That's our show for tonight, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Wakimale. God bless Nigeria.